Being here for a week when Max was well, and to see exactly the kind of person Max was, and my history with Max. He was my mentor for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it started in my high school days when I met him in Vankleek Hill, where I grew up, and he was doing Newsline at the time on CJOH at the time. Now it's CTV Ottawa.
So what would be Newsline? How often would he get up to Vankleek Hill?
Well, Newsline was the 6 o'clock news, which
Okay.
is just now CTV News at 6 with Graham Richardson and Caroline Meehan. So he came out and did a show. They were doing some sort of summer series where they were going to little towns across eastern Ontario, and he came out, and I was nervous. I was 17, 18, last year in high school, and to me he was a star. And the small town of Vankleek Hill, population 1,600 at the time, I think, and I walked up to him and I introduced myself, and I said I'd love to be in media one day, and he invited me to come up to watch his show the next day. So I got in the car with a bunch of my friends, terrified, trying to find CJOH, which is right beside the Boom Building, or was right beside the Boom Building where we are right now, and we basically sat beside him while he did his show. And it was like, at that point in my life, it couldn't get any bigger. Yeah. It was just something. So from there, I don't know if he saw something in me, but he was hosting my...
Did he hear your voice? I think was the...
Well, but the voice, there's a misconception with the voice. It's not about the voice, it's what you can do with it.
I know that.
So, but what I'm saying is, at that point, I think he saw something more in me. He could tell I was president of the student council at that point.
Valedictorian, too.
Well, I wasn't valedictorian yet, but I was getting there.
Yeah.
So, which is cool, because he actually drove back to Vankleek Hill to see me do my valedictorian speech.
That's incredible. I saw those photos,
yeah. So through that, I mean, he came and hosted our food bank fundraiser. It was a variety show. Like I said, the valedictorian speech. And then he took me to shadow different radio stations in town. Hung out with the Ottawa Senators, concerts, all that kind of stuff, and he just mentored me throughout the years. And even when he wasn't well, about 3 or 4 years ago, after he had one of his first cancer surgeries, I was co-hosting on daytime, and he was laying in his bed recovering, texting me how I could be better on TV.
No way.
Yeah. And now most people would be like, okay, I don't need you to text me how to be better, but when Max Keeping told you how to be better on television, you listened.
Yeah.
And not only in television, but just in life. Anytime, I mean, at first I was sort of an arrogant kid, and, I would say, I don't like this, or this is weird to me, but he would set me straight. He'd say, it isn't weird, it's different. It's not this, it's that. And at first I'd be like, I don't need you to tell me, but then I'm like, it's so true. Everything he taught me. So over the past month, it has been a loss, a huge loss. I saw him a couple of weeks before he passed, and we actually sat and watched the news together.
Oh, you did?
Which was nice. And he shared his last cookie with me that night, and it was just a touching moment. And then I thought he'd be around a little longer, and he just went. So it was tough.
An incredible loss, but I'm glad that he was able to.
Well, anytime anyone compares me in even like 1,000th of the person he was, like, that gives me my energy to keep doing community work.
Incredible. So I hope this can give you some more
energy
thank you. To keep going.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Dylan. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back, and we're going to go over several of the kind of initiatives and charities and events that you go through, because I think we can let people know more about these awesome events in the city.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, so we're going to listen to one more song. This is kind of Death If You Find Me from the Wicked Grin, and we'll be right back.
So
Thank you so much, Wicked Grin. That's Death If You Find Me. We're doing awesome here. So so many events that are going on. I guess first, you're a big advocate of Bloodwork in the city. And I know I love when you always remind me and to do it. I've still never. I'm so afraid to do it.
So what's your reason? What's your excuse, Nick?
I'm afraid to do it. It's just,
do not be afraid.
I know. So that every single time I look at it, it promotes me a little more. So it should be towards it. So that's from me.
Nice.
But what led you to become such an advocate for the Bloodwork? And
well, I mean, honestly,
how many times have you done it?
So last week I hit a milestone of 65 whole blood donations, which are different than platelets. Some people donate platelets and they can go every 2 weeks, but whole blood you can only do every 56 days.
Okay.
So it takes a while for your numbers to get up. My first donation, I believe, was at my high school, Vankleek Hill Collegiate Institute, back in the 90s, and then I sort of stopped for a while. I'm not sure why, but then mid-20s I just picked it up again. And you're talking about being nervous or whatever, but the reality is, as we get older, we are going to go through a lot more hardships and pain physically than a quick needle. So sometimes I even use this as it toughens me. I'll watch them put the needle in.
Yeah.
You know, and then you could save up to 3 lives, honestly. So it takes an hour of your time. It is literally painless. And it makes me feel really good because I know a lot of friends have come out over the years with me. As I was mentioning Danielle Allard earlier, she's gone out 4 times with me, and every time it's a little tough on her because some people aren't made for it, like because you have small veins or that kind of stuff. And but when people come out or say they're going to donate because they've heard about me doing it, it means a lot. So 1575 Carling Avenue is the permanent location in Ottawa. 1-888-2donate. Make a donation. Make an appointment.
Perfect.
Simple.
Okay, so I will let you know when I do it for the first time.
Thank you.
It will be sooner
it's
rather
easy,
than later.
I promise.
It will be sooner rather than later. Another event that you're constantly at, ESAX Networking.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little more about the ESAX Network and what separates that other than other networking events that people might have gone to?
Jared Goldsmith is the organizer, and I guess it's about 2 years ago he came up to me at an event I was part of at Greenfields in Barhaven, and he asked me, would you like to be the host for my next ESAX? And at that point I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but obviously it's a play on words because he's a saxophone player, and ESAX stands for the Entrepreneurial Social Advantage Experience.
There you go.
Okay. I don't know if I said that completely right, and experience is not spelt with an X, but whatever, right? So and I'm telling you, over the last, I guess I've hosted it maybe 7 or 8 times at this point, and I've met some of my best friends there. So, from Jean-Paul at Flashpoint Photo Booth, who's taken on Spawn Search, Stefan at Dynamics, got Allison Hudson from the Alice in Wonderland Band, honestly, Teresa Scrivens from Runway Networking. Like, I could go on and on and on with all these people that have come into my life. Keith Rogers from East Coast Limousines, and they're all people because you go and you network. And it's fun, and it's not dull, it's not just a bunch of business people standing around. You've been to one of these?
I have not.
You haven't? Okay.
I haven't.
So, there's speakers, and Jim Watson will come out, our mayor, and there's music ESAX does play, food. I know there's one coming up in January.
January 6th.
Yeah, okay. Yes. And I'm hosting that as well. I believe at the Horticultural Building again at Lansdowne. So it's definitely worth the price of admission because I've always walked away with something.
Yeah.
I've walked away with voice work. I've walked away with new contacts through Facebook and Twitter, more charity contacts, more like you always walk away with something.
Right, and there's always new, fresh people going. And
every
time. Every time.
You'll see the same familiar faces all the time, and that's great because they're people that you've come to really admire because they're entrepreneurs, they work hard. And anytime I've done charity events, whether it's been blood donor clinics or the Max Keeping Foundation or Fund for CHIO events, these people have come through for me. Door prizes or set up the photo booth or whatever you need, limo rides. So,
and that's what network's about, creating a community where like-minded people and people you get along with and not the same old.
But you've got to be good to them in return, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I believe that in life. It's like you can never expect anything from people. Max always taught me that the 2 most important words you'll ever say are thank you. And it only takes a second to say it. It takes the same amount of time to say it as to not say it. So just say thank you. And in this world, people don't realize how important that is.
And exactly. So get out there, ESAX Networking. Is that the website for it? ESAX Networking? Can you?
I'm not exactly. It's probably esaxnetworking.ca. I could be completely off on that, but I know Jared does an amazing.
You'll just
Facebook, Twitter,
ESAX.
Yeah,
you'll know it, and
he's
you'll
all
see
over.
him everywhere. Last night you got to present a United Way Community Builder Award. So how much do you love presenting those? Those must be interesting because
it's fun.
Every time you do it, you have no idea. Because I didn't know the Ankura Foundation existed. So just doing little things like that is great.
And it's honestly beneficial for me. It sounds selfish, but I benefit from this because I learn about these foundations. I didn't know the Ankura Foundation existed either. And you walk into this room of strangers basically, and people are sort of looking at you because you've got your suit jacket on and you look like you look like you're about to do something, right? And everybody's sort of looking at you like, what is this guy doing here? And then all of a sudden I have to go, excuse me everybody, sorry to interrupt. And then I'll give my spiel and I'll say, we have a community builder in here that needs to be acknowledged. I'll say the name. Everybody in the room will know who that person is and agree that they should be honored, and we present a plaque. And I guess I've done about maybe 4 or 5 of them right now at this point. Through my schedule, I've had to say no to a bunch of them, but it's really cool that the United Way, as we know, is $1 million. I can't even put a price value on how important they are, right? For them to see me, and Derek Fage is another one of the presenters, I believe Rabbi Bolka as well, for us to go out in the community and represent them in that way. Wow. It's very cool, right? Yeah. Because we could just be loose cannons and say anything we want if we wanted to, but no, not in this situation anyway. But yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. Another event, like you mentioned before, is the birthday. When did the birthday idea come about for raising money for Chio and the Max Keepin Foundation?
Well, I'll tell you the honest truth of that, and a lot of people do know this story. It actually was created to win a girl's heart. And I even told Max at the time. So I probably don't even have to say her name at this point, but I have said it a few times in this interview. And she was performing at Lower Town Brewery, and I would go and see her every Monday for a month or so, and I would think, okay, now how? There wasn't many people there because it was a Monday night, and it's just... So I thought to myself, how can we get some people in front of her? So I created the birthday extravaganza on a night she was performing. And then I even told Max, I used your name on this, Max, because I even told him the night he showed up at the first one 2 years ago. I said, the only reason why I'm doing this is to impress this girl. But we still raised a couple grand for Max, so he was fine with it, right? But, Star Wars characters and magicians and just the full 9 yards, right? And a year later, her and I are very close. So we had the extravaganza number 2 about a month back that you were at, and... But at that point, it was obviously different reasons. Yeah. It was for her and I to, continue the extravaganza and raise money for Max's now fund at Chio. And Max had passed away actually 7 days before the event. We had already started planning the event when he was still alive, and then it turned into more of a celebration for Max. And his son came and spoke, and we raised another $2,000, which Chio announced that will now double, which is very cool. So any donations made to his fund over the next... Whatever it takes up to $100,000 will be doubled.
Wonderful.
So that night we made $4,000.
Yeah.
And it was fun because I saw family and friends and
I love it.
You had a great time. Like everybody just had a great time, right? With the Star Wars characters again, and Batman was there and all that kind of stuff.
Balloon Animal guy's phenomenal.
Yeah, so that's Ian Quick, and he also performed. Jeez. And the cool part about that night is everybody there donated their time. Yeah. Not like all the talented musicians, like the entertainers. The door prize is 100% volunteer because all you have to say is Max's name, and people just come out.
I've been hearing stories my whole time in Ottawa, so it's always been amazing. And James White, did he predict that headline, the 9 days in advance?
Yeah, so he actually predicted 3 headlines.
Come on.
So James White, mentalist, who I've known a couple of years too, and he's performed the last 2 years of my birthday extravaganza. He the next night he actually had an event for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. 7 days before, he predicted what the headlines were going to be in the papers that day. He took them, wrote them on a piece of paper. I was there. A representative from the Make-A-Wish Foundation was there. We signed it. We closed it up in like a tomb sort of deal. He baked it in a loaf of bread, which was crazy. Yeah, so we knew that it was still the same one. The next Friday, brought it out. All 3 headlines were in the news. And it wasn't just generic stuff. It wasn't generic like it'll be sunny or it'll be... the Senators are playing. It was all stuff that was just wow.
Very interesting. So check out James White. I've seen him a few times. It's
amazing
pretty
guy.
It's pretty mind blowing. So very quickly, in the interest of time, because we could talk for hours about everything that you do.
I like to talk.
You also help the Tabitha Foundation. Very quickly, Tabitha Foundation. organization?
They build homes in Cambodia. So
Amazing.